What's going on, everybody? Soliaka here, and this is the full video, the full interview with Fox 35. I'm not going to keep this going long. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. Tell me how I did, or tell me, you tell me what you think about this. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Soliaka, deuces. And wait till the end. I promise you, I'm going to give my final thoughts. I'm out.
Whenever you guys are ready.
All right, first thing, just have to do it every time. Could I be say and spell your first and last name, please?
My name is Michael Taylor, MICHAELTAYLOR.
How would you classify kind of what you do in terms of the fishing and the open carry? Is there like a phrase for that or something you'd like to go by?
I call it just fishing. Some people call it a Second Amendment audit. I really don't think it's an audit because a lot of times auditing involves me just being able to go anywhere I want. And with this law, it's very restrictive on where I can go. So it's primarily just fishing.
Yeah.
But it has, I think of it more of like an educational thing because when I first started, I didn't have a concealed weapons permit, and so I had to source it out, and this was the only way if you didn't have that permit.
Gotcha. And do you like go by, like I know your YouTube is The Armed Fisherman,
Yeah.
do you kind of go by that?
The original name was Soloyaker. It's
Okay.
SOLOYAKER, and that was my original channel, and it came from solo kayaking, kayaker.
Sure.
And then I started the new channel, The Armed Fisherman, in that it was just primarily just open carry fishing, gun rights, gun activism, things of that nature.
So how long have you been doing that part?
I've been doing that for about 5 years now. 5 going on 6 years.
Sort of touched on it, but what made you decide to start?
It started really from the Parkland incident. Parkland with the March of Our Lives, they started doing a lot of promoting for gun control. And I was just, I get that it hurts. I don't want to see people, but at the same time, we do have gun rights. And our country was founded on guns. And for anybody that wants to take a gun away, I didn't agree with.
Gotcha. So it's sort of a response to a push for more gun regulation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha. So when did you first realize there was sort of this loophole in the law when it came to fishing? Because obviously, open carry isn't technically legal in Florida. I mean, concealed carry, you can now do that without a permit, but still no open carry. When did you first discover the fishing thing?
I first started, I was, Googling or getting on YouTube and looking for, how can I carry my firearm without a permit? And I found by fishing was the only way. And at the time, I was actually a professional fisherman. I was fishing on the IFA kayak tour. It's the IFA kayak tour, and I was doing that. I was fishing 5 to 6 days a week. And then one day I was fishing late at night under a bridge, and 2 guys walked down on me and tried to rob me. And my gun was in the car, and at the time I was kind of scared to do it because, it was like, guns are going to bring the police, and I didn't want that interaction.
Yeah.
But when I almost got robbed, I was like, I want to be able to protect myself.
And what was it about that? Was it just kind of a late night, a desolate area type thing?
It was in Fort Pierce. It was underneath a bridge, and the area is fairly safe, but at night things do change. And
You're under a bridge.
I was under a bridge, and these guys were up under the bridge. I didn't even see them as I got out there. And before I even got my first cast, I heard the footsteps behind me. I turned around, 2 guys are walking towards me, and they're like, "Money now!" And I swung my fishing pole at them and took off and run.
Jeez.
So I had to get myself out of with a fishing pole that day.
So after that is when you kind of decided
Yep.
this is something you wanted to start doing.
It was something it was just primarily fishing. And then I'll never forget I got involved with a group called Florida Carry, and they did, these little organized events where they went fishing, and we went out to spread the knowledge about this law. And I'll never forget the day in Miami. We're out there, it's 9:30 in the morning, and talk to a park ranger, he calls the police, and the next thing you know, I'm looking down the barrel of 3 guns. And that's when it kind of went from, all right, we had numerous good interactions with the police before that, and after that, now it's going to turn really into education, not only for the people, but for law enforcement as well.
Is that what it's primarily about for you, education?
Yeah, I want people, before the open carry or the permitless carry came about, It was about saying, hey, this is one of the only ways to carry your firearm, whether it was openly or concealed carry, without a permit. And I always told people, I'm like, there's two different statutes. One, open carry is a misdemeanor, and then concealed carry, if they don't know the law, police, it's a felony. And to deal with the two different charges is night and day. You know, with a felony charge, you can lose your gun rights that way.
Why not get a permit?
I did apply for a permit, and I was waiting on it, and I think it was like a week after that incident in Miami, it showed up at my house.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
it was a time thing, and some people don't have, you know, some people didn't have the money to pay, you know, this $200 just for the permit, and then you have to go take a class, so you're in for about $300. And, you know, for me, for the Second Amendment, I shouldn't have that permission slip. And I'm glad we're going to the permitless carry, and it's a step in the right direction, but at the same time, we do have the right to bear arms however we choose.
You'd like to see it like in some other states where it's permitless open carry
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, any way you feel comfortable carrying. Some people like open carry, some people don't. I tell you, carry how you feel comfortable, and to be honest, I feel more comfortable open carrying because it lets people know that there is a good guy with a gun.
So for context, I mean, a lot of your videos, they're kind of like first person. You've got your camera on. How are you looking when you're doing this? How are you dressed? What are you carrying?
Dressed just like this, usually shirts, shorts, and sandals. Then I have an AR, either an AR rifle or AR pistol across my chest. I have a Glock 23 on my hip and a fishing pole, and sometimes I carry a flag just to, you know, let people know I'm out, a patriotic guy.
So you're basically doing this only, you know, when you're near the water, you're going fishing, basically, or you're in transit to go fishing, I guess is the way it's written.
Oh yeah, long as I am on my way to go fishing, going to or returning from, and basically I could start from right here and walk all the way to Tallahassee, and I shouldn't, as long as my intention is to go fishing, I shouldn't be bothered with anything. I should just be able to go about my day.
But that's kind of a loophole, isn't it?
Yeah, because the same law that allows law enforcement to openly carry their firearm is under the same statute. Instead of subsection H, it's subsection D. So that's where I would say there's a loophole because it allows them to do the same, and that's where I differentiate the two, is that it's not a loophole, it's actually a law.
What's your relationship like with law enforcement?
It's good and bad. I try to have a respect for law enforcement, and as long as they respect my right, I can try to respect them.
Does it ever lead to some tension?
Oh yeah,
I mean, you mentioned it before. But
Oh yeah. Anytime that they start violating, you know, when they point guns at me, put me in handcuffs, detain me, throw me in the back of their car, then I start having problems because I could sit there until I'm blue in the face telling them the law, but they don't really care until they figure it out for themselves. And that's where I have problems with it.
I think sometimes, you know, from the police standpoint, or, you know, some members of the public, where they have a problem with it is, you know, they think it's kind of alarming for people to see. It can cause, you know, panic. It might make people nervous if they see someone carrying all those weapons. They're not used to seeing it. You know, do you ever kind of consider that, you know, you might be making people feel uncomfortable?
Oh, absolutely. I do feel for the people that, you know, are a little squeamish to see me like that. But I also want to say, you know, same thing with law enforcement. You know, are they so scared of law enforcement carrying their guns? And the one thing I'd say is law enforcement and me are no different. We're both people, we're both carrying firearms, and as long as we're responsible carrying those firearms, there shouldn't be an issue. But I do understand it. And I do, you know, that's why I try to, when I'm interacting with the public, I try to keep a very cool demeanor, saying, hi, how are you? And if they respond, I keep or don't, you know, we can have a conversation. If not, I just keep walking.
And, you know, you mentioned this was a response to Parkland in the beginning, but, you know, at this point in time in America, we have been through so many traumatic incidents, you know, mass shooters, you know, using similar weapons, things like that. There's a lot of people who, you know, have this trauma are really, you know, concerned. Are you ever worried about, you know, triggering that kind of response from people, them thinking that something way different is going on?
It has crossed my mind, but at the same time, like I said, as long as I'm out there trying to remain calm and not showing any signs of aggression and things like that, usually if they're squeamish, they usually just kind of turn and go the other way.
Yeah.
But I do understand it. I mean, it is always a concern, but my main goal is to try to be peaceful and be responsible. You know, that's the end of the day, is just being responsible.
And what's the end goal here?
Well, so far, over my last year, I haven't had too many police interactions on most of my videos, so now it's really talking to the public about not only the open carry, but talking about gun rights, because what I am seeing is through legislation, through the House, through Congress, they are trying to change certain things that are, for me, I don't agree with. And, you know, like, we'll take the pistol brace rule. You know, a little piece of plastic that was good for almost over a decade is now could possibly make me a felon if I attach it to any one of my pistol braces or AR pistols. And I don't agree with that. And it starts there, and they keep chipping away, and next thing you know, they're gonna ban them.
So you see yourself as an activist in a lot of ways.
A lot of ways. And that's what I try to promote now, is really trying to sit down and talk to people about, you know, the Second Amendment. Because Second Amendment gets so much backlash because of these shootings that we're seeing. And we have to showcase some of the good people with guns. And that's what I'm trying to do, is say, hey, I'm a good person with a gun. And if there was something to happen and the police aren't here, you've got me. At least I can slow them down. At least I would try to, you know. That's what responsible gun owners do, is try to help where they can help the public if need be.
And going back a little bit, since it was kind of here in the same town, I did see one of your videos where you were in downtown Sanford, kind of had an extended interaction with the police there. Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did that start?
Just came out one day, wanted to go fishing, and there was I can't remember the name of the lake, but I'm at this lake, and then I looked at Google Maps, there's another part, and I started walking. The officer came out, and he's like, hey, I see you have guns. And I'm like, yeah. And he was just like, well, open carry, you can't do that. And I'm like, they haven't taught you the law yet? And at that point, I think it was like 3.5 years, and the word had been getting out. And for some reason, it didn't get out. And next thing you know, I'm getting surrounded by, I think it was roughly 11 to 12 officers that day that all came out. And I kept saying, they knew the law. There was a few of them that are like, yeah, we know the law. And I'm like, what's the problem? Why are you detaining me? And they wanted to make sure I wasn't a felon with a firearm. But, you know, there's a Florida case law, I believe it's Florida versus JL. Unless you suspect me of a crime, I have no obligation to give you any ID or prove that I'm not a felon. Now, if I get caught with a gun and I'm a felon, you're going to be in a whole lot of trouble.
What if you have a gun and no fishing pole?
Open carrying, it's a misdemeanor. And I actually got arrested in Ball Harbor for open carry, even with the fishing pole in hand. But those charges ended up getting dropped, and right now I'm currently in litigation with Ball Harbor.
So you're suing them?
Yeah, and I'm doing it pro se, which means I'm doing it by myself, and I'm not a lawyer.
Wow. So, you know, there might be some skeptics out here that might say, hey, maybe he's fishing for a lawsuit here.
No, that's not. Through all my interactions, I only have one lawsuit, and that's with Bell Harbor. The Miami Beach incident, that was taken up by the lawyers of Florida Carry, and I was involved in it, but that wasn't our end goal. Our end goal was just to go out, talk to the public, educate them, and then it's kind of turned into, for me, it was educating everywhere I went in, whether it was police or the public.
And that Sanford incident, how did that wrap up? The police there?
I'm guessing one of the supervisors came out, was like, hey, you're just going fishing, have a good day. And it was like 20-30 minutes later, and I'm like, we didn't have to spend all this time just for me to just walk away, you know.
And I reached out to Sanford as well, and it sounds like they might have even adjusted their training, how they go about that sort of encounter, you know, talking about the law. I mean, is that kind of your goal? They're prepared to deal with something like that?
100%, that is the goal. Not only in Sanford, West Palm, a lot of the places that I've been visiting, they send the police drive by, I give them a wave, they keep on driving, and you know, they call dispatch, say, hey, if you get any more calls, it's probably going to be this guy, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I say they're going to get two different calls. If there's something going wrong, they're going to get, you know, whether it be shots fired or whatever. If they get a call, hey, he's just walking down the street and he's heading towards with a fishing pole, more than likely it's me.
Gotcha. Has this been the law for a long time, or is this a somewhat recent change with the fishing and hunting part?
I want to say since 1987. If you don't know, Florida was the first state to adopt the concealed weapons permit. here, and it was in 1987, and I believe the law was already there from 1987 until present day. And only until, I want to say 3 years ago, there was a senator, Senator Bobby Powell. I'm not sure if he's still in office, but he tried to change the law because he was worried about me walking past the church or walking past colleges and things of that nature. And, you know, as long as I have no ill intent, I should be able to walk wherever I want to walk.
But are there rules against being near a school or something like that?
Yes, there are rules about being within a school. If you do not have a concealed weapons permit, even with permitless carrying that we have, you cannot be within 1,000 feet of a school. With a concealed weapons permit, you can be within that 1,000 feet, but I don't suggest it. It's not worth it because all they're going to do is shut down the school, and that's why I always have to Google it, and then I have to look around the surrounding areas to see how close I am, if I am close to a school.
Make sure you avoid it.
Yeah, that's my job's not to scare the school, because I understand, you know, from Parklands and from Uvalde and all these other schools, what am I teaching at that point? I'm not teaching anything except for how to scare kids and shut them down. So that's not my goal.
Yeah. I was going to say, Michael, that's about all the questions I was going to ask you. Is there anything else you wanted to add? I think we missed.
No, just I want people to know that there are good people with guns, and just seeing the side of a firearm should not make you want to run for the hills. Observe what they're doing. If you feel they're doing something that is out of the norm, I get why you might call. But if they're not being aggressive or they're not causing hostility, you know, sometimes it's better just to observe and see what they're doing before taking action, because sometimes when you do call, guns get pointed at lawful people, and it's happened to me.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, Michael. I appreciate you going through all that with me. I think it'll make for a good story.
I hope so. Please send me a link or anything that you can. I'm not from the area, so
yeah, it'll go online.
All right, sweet. Yeah.
I don't know exactly when yet.
Yeah, no worries. Anytime. Hey. I'm all for it. Yeah, I'll send you. I don't know if you've gone through the channel or not.
Yeah, I've seen some of them, not all, but if it's okay with you, like, would you still have like the individual files or like the video files? Or are they just only on YouTube? It's
mainly on YouTube.
If we
you're more than welcome.
Okay.
Anything that's online, it's under Fair Act use. I mean, I appreciate you asking. But
we'll still have to send you like a quick.
It's a permission slip.
It's basically just like, yes, you have our permission, blah blah blah.
Yeah, absolutely. Send me anything.
Basically, what happens is sometimes we put together a story, and then Fox in Philadelphia wants to run it, and then
I got you.
Just to avoid all the complicated web of permissions, it's like a one size fits all thing.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you making the drive. I know it's not close, but.
And as you can see, this video, the initial one that's on Fox is roughly about 3 minutes or something. And you have to understand, they're going to only use certain segments. But it's important to see what they left out. Because for me, there were some really key points that were left out. And I want you to tell me what your key points that they probably should have put in. I'm not the reporter. I'm not anybody. I'm not telling them how to do their job. I'm just saying I wish some things would have been put in, but hey, that's just me, and that's just the way this is. But leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. And like I said, overall, I have mad respect, because they didn't just paint this in a negative way, but they left things out that could have shined more light on aspects, if that makes sense. So don't forget, hit the like, share, and that subscribe button, and leave a comment, and I'm out of here. Soliaker, deuces.